chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy 2023, and welcome back to season 6 of the Breakthrough Show, Breakthroughs Around the World. I'm so excited to be back with you this year, and my goal for this series was to have 40 different guests from 40 different countries. And we're about 12 shy of that at the end of 2022. And I said, well, should we just say, look, we've got the amount that we're supposed to have and move on, or should we continue? And I really want to get to 40 because I'm stubborn, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to get to 40 before we end this series for sure. Breakthroughs Around the World is the conversation we've been having with 40 guests from 40 different countries, acknowledging our similarities, honoring our differences, and celebrating our connection. In case you've forgotten, I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, the creator of the Breakthrough Show Network. For season 6, episode 28, I'm thrilled to welcome a new friend to the show. I was fortunate enough to meet this person through a mutual friend of ours. She was one of our favorite Breakthrough alumni who, unfortunately, we lost last year, Dorothy O'Shea. I was immediately drawn to her energy, and I know that you will be too. So here to represent the country of Sweden, please welcome Katarina Eskilsson to the show. Welcome, Katarina. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
It's been a long time coming. We talked quite some time ago.
Yeah, we did.
Sometimes I don't know if it's like that for you as well, but sometimes I'll have a moment. It's not all the time, but every now and then I have a moment and I go, where did time go? I have no idea how time goes
and
so
my
quickly.
feeling is that autumn is often like that. I think we fool ourselves. We think it's going to be 6 months from summer to Christmas, but it's not.
Yeah. It's very true. And
then
it's
every year
interesting.
we kind of discover, no, that's not the case. It's only 3 months, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the interesting thing is, so I choose a word of the year every year, and my word for 2023 is time. And it's about helping myself to sort of recognize how I'm spending my time, if I'm honoring my time and the time of other people, but also looking at the constructs that we as humans have made time into, whether it's words like moment or minute or year or something like that. And so I'm looking forward to diving into the word time a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
Hmm.
So I'm really excited to have you here today, and I would love to dive in. And I've met some people from Sweden, but I'd love to hear your perspective on the things that you love most about Sweden. Can you share with us, Katarina?
Uh, Sweden, to me, it's a lot about nature. Uh, it's a big country, uh, not that many people in it, so we
Mm,
have a lot of space, lots of forests, lakes, silence. I mean, that's what I think of when I think of Sweden.
mm. I love that. I've seen some photos from friends of mine who live in that area, and it is quite beautiful. Do you have any particular favorite spots?
Well, for me, it would be the part of country that I
Mm,
come from. Uh, I don't know if it objectively is the most beautiful part of Sweden, but there's something about the landscape that you grew up in,
mm,
and for me, it's agricultural landscape
mm,
with open spaces, big plain, but not the way you have big plains in the Midwest,
mm,
the unending plains. In Sweden, or in my part of Sweden, you can see to the other side, and then there are forests all around it and farmhouses. And
mm,
uh, and that's the landscape I grew up in. And I can actually I can feel it almost physically when I
mm.
come back to that landscape, that it calms me down. I breathe in a different way. It's as if it's a part of me.
Yeah, I love that. You speak of Sweden, how I have spoken so often about my hometown, which we'll get in a little bit here, but I can definitely relate to that feeling of feeling at home when you get to that
Yeah.
place, and different than other places as well. I kind of have always pictured in my mind Sweden to be cold and snowy all the time. Is that the case?
Eh, Well, it depends on what you compare it to, you know. And unfortunately, global warming changes things. So we
Yeah.
don't have, in my part of Sweden, we don't have the cold and long, cold, snowy winters the way we used to. I mean, we still get snow, but for shorter periods. Uh,
Right.
I think to go into the negatives, what is difficult with the Swedish winter is that it's very dark. We're not
Mm,
that far from the polar circle, even where I'm at in central Sweden, and in the north, you pass it. So
mm.
in December, we just have a few hours of daylight, and that's kind of tough, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Can
But
you see the northern lights in Sweden? Is that something you can see there?
yeah, up north, you can
Mm,
see it a lot. In my part of the country, it's rare. I mean, it
mm,
happens from time to
yeah,
time, but I remember seeing it once
mm.
only.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think everybody talks about, when they go to that part of the world, is that
Mm,
being one of the things that they really wanna see, is the northern lights, and everybody comes back with their photos of all of it, but
yeah,
I'm sure it
yeah.
doesn't do it justice as well.
And where I go in Sweden, I mean, what we do have is, I mean, the sky. The sky is dark, and you can see the stars.
Mm,
Where I live in Belgium, I live in Brussels. It's a big city, and it's a very densely populated area. So the sky is rarely dark in that way.
mm.
We don't see the stars.
Yeah. You know what was interesting is I took my kids recently to the planetarium, and they were giving a presentation of the stars that are over our sky here in Mystic, Connecticut. And they they lower the lights so that you can see the stars, and you only see a few, and you think to yourself, is this it? But then he describes, if you were, this is how it looks because of all of the man-made light that's around. But if you were in the middle of the ocean with nothing, this is what it looks like. And they lower the lights completely, and it's such a dramatic difference.
Wow. Yeah.
It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
um
I mean, they
so
talk a lot about light pollution these
yeah,
days, that we don't have the darkness.
right. It's very true. I tried to sleep with one of those, the eye masks on, and it didn't help me out. I don't like the feeling of something on my face when I'm sleeping. So
Mm.
it didn't work out very well. Talk to me about the food, Katarina, because I've heard a lot of different things, specifically around Christmas time, about different Swedish foods. Is there anything that stands out to you about food in Sweden?
We eat a lot of herrings for the
Yeah.
a lot of herring for the holidays. Herring in different sauces, different varieties,
Interesting.
smoked fish.
Mm,
Uh, for Christmas, we usually have a big ham. That's
mm,
the traditional thing.
yeah.
Uh, and then we're kind of a lot of sweets.
Yeah. That's what we were trying to get to.
Yeah, 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 yeah. As Swedes, we drink a lot of coffee,
Yeah.
and with coffee, I mean, we like to have a cookie or a
Mm,
cinnamon roll or something like that.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's awesome. I Is there anything that stands out to you about Sweden that maybe, because I know you've traveled a lot, and like you said, you're in Brussels as well. And so is there anything that stands out to you, like that you feel like you'd want to bring home to Sweden, or the opposite, would you want other countries to adopt that you enjoy about Sweden?
I I think that's difficult to say
Yeah.
because I think every culture is a logical system in
Mm,
itself. So it's hard to take one piece and implant it somewhere else. But I guess the thing, the main thing I think that I appreciate in Sweden is that it is a fairly egalitarian society uh, with where living conditions don't vary that much between different
wow.
groups of
Mm,
society. So I
yeah.
think that is a very important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. I would be so interested to see something like that, because I know here even in the United States, neighborhood to neighborhood, like within a mile of each other, can be completely going from deplorable conditions to a
Yeah.
mansion. And it's challenging to see that. And
Mm.
I know that no system is perfect. No, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned through this series that we've been doing, is like we
Mm.
all of our countries have things they can improve on, and I think we all have amazing things that we can adopt as well. So that sounds like
Mm.
something really beautiful about Sweden, is that it feels like maybe more equal opportunity. Would that be, how would you describe it?
Yeah, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not unique for European countries
Mm,
because a lot of European countries have similar systems. But I mean, that healthcare is basically free and
yes.
accessible for everyone. Education is free,
Mm,
accessible for everyone. I mean, those are very important factors. I think it
yeah.
means that if I fall ill and I don't lose my job. I
Mm,
don't have to sell my house to, get treatment. Eh, and that creates a sense of security,
right.
I
Right.
think.
Yeah, that's so important, I think, because there is a level of incredible anxiety that comes with just subconsciously thinking if something were to happen, I'd be in
Yeah.
big trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I'm excited to get into a little bit of your breakthrough moments and a little bit of your personal story today. So we're going to be right back after this to have that conversation. Breakthroughs are about more than you might think. They're about discovering who you are, digging deep, reaching to the core of your soul. They're about healing yourself, understanding your beliefs, creating a ripple effect. And it's not just those initial moments that matter. It's about using them to bring more joy into our own lives and the lives of others. It's about having fun, letting loose, enjoying every moment life has to offer. It's about finding a safe space. It's about creating connection. Join us each and every day for exclusive programming, special events, and a community to call home, where we invite you to explore, change the way you look at and live your life, and go beyond the breakthrough. So we ask you, are you ready? We'll see you online at thebreakthroughshow.com. Welcome back to The Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and we're here today with Katarina Eskilsson, representing the country of Sweden by way of Brussels and all these other amazing places that she's visited. And so when I ask our guests, what would you say is the topic of the biggest breakthrough moment you've experienced in your life? Katarina gave me one sentence and I was crying after the one sentence because it's exactly kind of what I've been mulling over in my own life. So I know that this is going to be meaningful for someone else out there today. You said, Katarina, the point when I realized that there was no turning back, that even if I moved back home, it would have to be a new beginning. Tell me a little bit about what's behind that statement.
I think when you move far away from your home, especially if you move to different countries and you do it as an adult, for a long time, you have a feeling that that there is a parallel life, that somehow the life you left is still going on, but unchanging. And you're not really aware of this, but it's kind of there in the back of the head. Uh, and then at some point, you realize that this is not really the case. Even if I had stayed at home, things would have happened. Life would have changed, and I have no idea what it would look like. And if I go back home again, I'm not going to be able to just pick up where I left off. It would be something new. I mean, it wouldn't be totally new because, of course, there are things you recognize. But after 20 years, it's not the same. So I think mentally, you have to kind of prepare yourself for the fact that the parallel life was an illusion. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And when you go back home, it's a new start. And in a way, I mean, that's fascinating and interesting and
Mhm.
positive, but you have to be aware of this.
Yeah. I don't think I was aware, Katarina. I mean, I think I was aware, but
Yeah,
I think there was such a big part of me that was hanging on to what if things could be the same,
yeah, yeah.
you know? And I even found myself, so it's interesting. I've experienced a lot of loss since I lived far away from here. And three of the most influential people in my life, my 24-year-old brother, and then my grandparents who helped raise me. And when I came home, like I had come home for their funerals and then had gone back. So there wasn't a lot of time during those moments of coming home for me to truly process.
No,
um Obviously I grieved in the way that I could not being here. And a couple months ago I found myself literally on the floor in the mausoleum that my grandparents are buried in, and finally processing it because I'm here,
yeah, yeah.
and
Because then you
saying like,
finally realized, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was just a whole moment. So what have your travels been like? Like tell me a little bit about your journey of like where you were born, where you traveled since, and then, where you're at now.
Okay, I was born in Sweden on a
Mm,
farm in the countryside.
mm.
My first school was tiny. It was only 60 kids in the entire
Wow.
school. So, I mean, it was a real country
Yeah.
setting. Uh, but I always had the urge to travel.
Mm,
You know, I read a lot. I read books. I traveled in books. I learned languages in school and always wanted to kind of get out there.
mm,
And then when I was about 20, I went to the United States. I got a scholarship to go to college in the
wow.
United States. So I went to Augustana College in Illinois for one
Mm,
year. And while I was there, I met my husband, uh, who moved back to Sweden with me.
mm,
And then we lived in Sweden for about 13 years, and but went back and forth quite a
mm,
bit, visited family in the United States. And then when I was in my 30s, I got this job in Brussels, uh, working as a translator for the European Commission. And then we moved to Brussels.
mm. Okay. Okay. So how long ago was that you moved to Brussels?
Over 20 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is it? And I'm assuming you've visited back home at some point in the last 20 years, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still have a summer house in
Mm,
Sweden and usually go there for Christmas for a month or so in the summertime.
mm,
So I have been going back and forth quite a bit.
yeah. What is your experience like for you when you go back home? Do you feel, I know you mentioned feeling, at home and feeling differently there. What is it also that keeps you from going back, like, and just staying in Sweden?
Well, first of all, practical issues. I
Yeah.
have my job here. You know,
Mm,
I've moved quite a bit already. It's a bit,
mm,
and you kind of get tired of it.
yeah.
Uh, so in some ways it's easier to stay here for now.
Mm,
Uh, and then second, I mean, you change. I mean, there's no way getting around that. You change, and while in many ways I still feel very much at home in Sweden, I don't feel 100% at home. Uh, and I feel more at home in Belgium than I used to. Uh,
mm,
so I would say what you gain, I mean, you gain and lose by being an expat.
Right.
What you lose, I think, is that you never feel 100% at home anywhere. What you gain is that I can sort of feel at home almost anywhere.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
You adapt easily. It's not 100%, but still enough.
Yeah. That's really interesting because I think I recognize, even because I also, until I just moved back home last year, I was away from here for 20 years. And so that's what's really interesting about our stories. But the I think I recognize that while I was away, I sort of did whatever I could. Not, it wasn't a conscious thing, but I did whatever I could to feel at home,
Mm.
whatever that sort of looked like for me in a moment, whether it was to hang seaside pictures around my home because that's, I lived by the sea in here, and or stay connected to people. That's one of the things that I wanted to ask you, is about the connection with other people from back home in your
Mm.
own journey. What has that been like for you? Have you been able to maintain relationships, I don't want to say as they were, because obviously we grow and change over time, but have you been able to keep any of those connections, or is it a situation where you go back home, you wave if you see them and say hi, and then that's the end of that?
I think I quickly realized that you kind of have to make a choice
Mm,
when you go back home to try to maintain, if you want to maintain a lot of contacts, or if you want to keep a few close contacts. And I would say that I've done the latter. So I still have some really good friends in Sweden, and we have
mm,
stayed in touch, and you know, I try to see them every time I go home, and we can just pick things up where we are.
yeah,
Uh, but I have lost, of course, I have lost a lot of friends and
mhm,
contacts too. Uh,
yeah.
but I mean,
Have you had a situation where you've like run into them when you've come back home, and if so, what is that experience like?
uh, no, no.
No.
Well, yeah, yeah, I have. Of course, I've run into people that I haven't stayed in touch with,
Yeah.
but no weird
Yeah.
situation. It's, I think, it's just those things that happen in life, and it could have happened if I stayed in Sweden too, because people's lives, take different paths, and
Yeah.
maybe for a few years you're neighbors and you see each other all the time, and then someone moves and you see each other rarely, and then you don't see each other anymore.
Yeah.
And then in some cases, I've also had experience. I've had friends that I lost touch, that I lost contact with, and then we picked it up again and maintained it.
Right.
So, I mean, life is a strange and wonderful thing. It moves, and you never know which way it's going to move.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like if someone from your past, from back home, what, like say you hadn't talked in 30 years, if they were to meet you again today, would they be meeting the same Katarina?
On some level,
Mm,
yes. I don't think that people, when they meet me, I don't think that they think that I've changed very much. Uh, but then again, on the same time, no, they wouldn't.
yeah.
Because if they would, I wouldn't have lived. I
Mm,
mean, life changes you, it's bound to change you. And the place the place that you live, the people you hang out with. I mean, it all creates experiences that you carry with you. So uh, you are a different person. You're the same and you're different. I don't yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I've given that a lot of thought, and I saw a graphic come across on Facebook recently that said, if you knew me 10 years ago, you don't know me now. Like, you need to re-meet me. You need to re-understand who I am after, all that I've been through over the last 10 years, sort of thing. And so I've given that a lot of thought. I feel very similar to you, that there are parts of me who that are exactly the same as I've always been, just sort of in a different context.
yeah.
And a lot of life experience behind it, right?
hmm I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost, if you think on a physical level, I mean, our cells are renewed. They
Yeah.
die and new cells are created. We still look the same, but
Yeah.
after a few years, the cells are totally new.
Yeah. Very true. That's a great reminder as well. I don't think
Yeah.
we're meant to be the same, even moment to moment. I mean, we kind of grow and learn and all of that.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of the whole point?
It is. And then I think somewhere we sort of, I mean, even as we're talking about moving and going back home and things like
Mm,
that, there's this piece of nostalgia that I think so many of us hang on to it, just in the hope that things could be
mm.
how they once were. Um, and it's challenging. It's challenging to
Yeah.
dive into that a little bit.
But then, I mean, there are things with you, I think, that don't change so much. I mean,
Yeah.
your sense of humor, what you
Mm,
find funny. I mean, that
yeah.
I might develop, but sort of stays the same. Uh, and your general outlook on life.
Mm,
And also, I think in my case, the kind of people that you like. Because,
mm,
uh, what you like in a person. I mean,
right.
those are things that don't change so much anyway.
Yeah. I think maybe as we get older, there are more filters put into place,
Yeah.
maybe, like, of, okay, well, I didn't have the best, when I remember being younger and wanting everyone to like me, and I wanted to be friends with everybody and
Yeah.
really being attached to that. And then now that I'm
hmm
older, I sort of fight that a little bit. Like, I still, I think, have this innate desire. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and goes, I hope no one likes me today. I don't think anybody does that. But, like, the
yeah.
priority that I put on that, the level of
Yeah.
influence is
Yeah.
different now.
Yeah. I mean, when you're young, you want even people that you don't care about. You,
Right.
you want them to like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
so
it's definitely
I
different.
mean, I think this certainly true in my case, that I know better what makes me feel good
Mm,
and what I need in order to feel good, and that goes for people too.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm
What gives me energy.
right. Right. Yeah, I think that's changed a little bit for me, for sure.
Yeah.
um I'm so glad we got to have this conversation, because and I feel like we could literally talk for hours about this, because there's so much to sort of unpack when you talk about relocating and moving, and there's a lot there that I don't think we really recognize. And we move and then
Mhm.
go, what happened?
Exactly.
Uh, yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. And on this break, we're actually going to hear you read a version of For Love by our friend Dorothy Auger, which I'm really excited to share with everybody. And when we come back, we'll do our 10 quick fire questions. We'll be right back.
Jag står för kärleken. Trots en krossad själ, trots ett tungt hjärta. Jag står för kärleken. För världen är sargad. Inte bara mitt lilla stycke mark, där jag för det mesta är trygg, där jag för det mesta mår bra, utan hela vår värld, överallt och varje dag. Jag står för kärleken, för vi behöver mer ljus. Inte fler döda, inte den starkares rätt, inte fler bomber. Jag står för kärleken, så att våra barn kan vara trygga, så att våra vänner har skydd, så att våra gränser är öppna. Jag står för kärleken, trots en krossad själ, trots ett tungt hjärta.
Welcome back to the Breakthrough Show. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and here with Katarina Eskilsson. What a beautiful rendition of that poem. And you're such a fantastic speaker, the way that you emote the words as you're sort of processing what you're reading almost.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's, I mean, I love that poem.
Mm.
It was a wild experience to be involved in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting thinking back on that too, and even, you know, everything happened with Dorothy just a couple months after we moved, and it was just so much to process at one time.
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful to have been a part of that, because otherwise we wouldn't have met either. So
Yeah.
that worked out really
Yeah,
well.
I mean that is amazing. You know, the balls that start rolling and
Yeah.
where they lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to get to our 10 quick fire questions. These have been super fun questions that I've asked everybody on this season of the show. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. Number 1, what is your morning beverage of choice?
Coffee.
Coffee it is. Number 2, when are you most productive?
In the morning.
Me too. We've got a lot of night owls that have been on this season, I'll tell you. Number 3, which season is your favorite?
Spring.
It's a good time with things blooming. Number 4, what is something you're learning right now?
I'm starting to learn Italian.
Ah, very good. I know like one word. I used to sing in Italian, but not. I don't know what I was singing. I have no idea. But, all right, number 5. What were your best and worst subjects in school?
Best subjects, Swedish or history. Worst subject, chemistry, because I really didn't care.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. All right, number 6. What scares you?
I'm sometimes afraid of the dark.
Yeah, that can be a tough one. All right, number 7. Have you ever been in love?
Yeah.
Love it. Number 8. What inspires you?
People that give energy, or a really good book or a beautiful work of art.
I love that. Number 9. How do you enjoy your downtime?
I read. I play the piano.
Oh, very nice.
I like to do crafts. I do crochet and knit.
Very nice. I also play the piano and crochet. See, we have so much in common.
Oh, wow.
So good. All right, final question. This might be a tough one. I don't know. Which culture do you deeply respect and or want to learn more about other than your own?
Oh, well, I mean, if I should pick a part of the world that I find absolutely fascinating, is the Middle East and the
Mm,
Middle Eastern cultures, both the Muslim and the Jewish and the Christian cultures that you find there. I
yeah.
think that's just a fascinating part of the world.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I love it. Well, you did it. All 10, easy peasy. You did it. I love all of the answers to the questions, and I'm actually excited at the end of the series. I'll do a little montage of some of the different answers because we really do have so much in common as people. I think more than we
Yeah.
recognize, and some of these little seemingly basic questions can really bring us together when we find out that we have them in common. So
Yeah, yeah.
thank you for your answers to them. Is there anything that you'd like to leave our audience with today? Anything that you're focused on this year, a message that's important to you right now, a quote, anything you'd like to leave with us today?
Oh, you know, go out there, create some good energy, be nice to people. That's what I'm
Mm,
going to try to do this year.
I love that. It's an important reminder.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget that to be just be nice, make
Yeah,
a
just be
smile. Yeah.
nice.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katarina, for being here today. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this. And I feel, as I mentioned in the beginning, your energy is just beautiful. And I know that so many people are going to be able to relate to your story today. And hopefully, having learned a little bit about Sweden as well as we do our little virtual travel through this series. And I just really appreciate your time, my friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm
Um,
so glad.
and happy New Year and good luck with the rest of the year.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I'm your host, Jessica Dugas, and I want to remind you to make every day a great day for a breakthrough. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.